Hello. Just doing an update. Today is day 13 post Tethered cord release. First thing to note, just from me setting up to record this, I'm learning how to sit. In that I am now sensorially aware that the way I've been sitting my whole life, which a lot of times looks like, crisscross, or like sitting with my knees kind of like off and like my back twisted, just sitting all kinds of awkward, which was a part of my, almost like basically like a physical representation of my personality, just very unconventional and just queer. And so I'm recognizing there's a bit of a grieving process happening with that. Just specifically in the sort of attachment to physical expression in that way. So I recognize that I need to sit differently, because sit and lay differently, because I've just noticed since getting at home from surgery that my feet are always cold, which I talked about a bit, but there's also an aspect of reduced circulation in general to my legs, but I notice it profoundly in certain positionings. So initially having my feet be as cold as they were made sense, just because like initial nerve roots connecting, but now it's more so like positional overall, and I'm recognizing that this isn't something new in terms of that circulation issue, the nerves signaling and all of that, but just circulation specifically. It's a matter of I just didn't notice the extent of it before and how problematic that could be, because I had such reduced sensation in my lower extremities. It all just kind of melted into the baseline, I want to say like dim nerve experience. I recognize now that my legs were always in some capacity numb, and so positions that would cause reduced circulation and maybe at times reduced sensation, it just didn't feel, it wasn't, I didn't recognize or notice that, because it was just so like it was, I don't know what the wording is, incrementally less. There was less of a distance in terms of sensation, but now I can experience it as like, it is very notable to me when that kicks in, because the baseline has shifted. So before it was like I already had a sense of much lower sensation and numbness and tingling and those sorts of pains. So then it would only be like just a little bit more, but now it's a matter of like the baseline is shifted over here, and so once I'm in a certain position, the sensation is just like the gap makes it unavoidable to acknowledge. So it's just been physically awkward. Once I recognize a problem, I can, go into solver mode and I leave room to emotionally process. There's been a lot of bouts of just all kinds of crying, mostly joy crying, and of course a lot of bittersweetness, lots of contrast, just what aliveness is for me thus far, always really. But yeah, it's just awkward to right now. There's a sense of impatience to where it's like, I don't know if I'll ever figure out how the fuck to just sit. But it's really just, I've just had 32 years of a totally different experience, so of course it's going to take time. It's like I just really came to terms with the sitting thing yesterday. So though the surgery had success in a large aspect overnight, there's a whole lot of other things that need to be just not even relearned, but just learning. Again, that concept of just being born, teaching myself to walk has been interesting. I've been able to walk to the bathroom, to the counter. I was able to take my first shower yesterday. It was shorter, of course, but like to get an actual just fucking shower makes a world of a difference. It wasn't in the cards for me today, this morning. And as for like grooming and stuff, that's gonna be like maybe mid next week. For one, I don't want to risk like hairs getting into my incision site. That's just gonna be a nightmare. Two, I literally physically can't do it, like, because it's just for like body is just too much exertion, and leaning and bending is just not allowed. And so that, and then overhead, for some things I can do that to an extent, but to actually like hold my trimmer and do that and have to like even just getting here, I can feel the tension, and adding like weight in my hand to that is just gonna be a no-go. So I'm gonna be looking scruffy for a minute. And it already feels super uncomfortable because for some reason my neck hair grows out faster than everything else. But so that I am going to, although it's inadvisable, but because my apartment reeks of trash, despite me even like trying to seal up the trash bag, just doing everything I can, I'm gonna take out the trash this morning. I have a rolling cart, but instead of like pulling it behind me, I'm going to make sure to just carefully push it in front of me, and just really consciously hone in on controlled movements. And this whole thing is like surgery recovery, initial surgery recovery is really serving as like a forced training ground for H-EDS PT. Like just the whole thing of like not, like there being such great consequences and clear pain and tension indicators of my body of when I am when I am hyperflexing. It just forces me to be absolutely present with every single muscle group when I do anything. So, and that being like other than like muscle build in general, just like controlled muscle movements, at least initially, until there's enough steadiness built for joints. That's really the central piece of H-EDS PT is strength, but also control. Relearning movement so that way it stays within a certain parameter, so that way joints are not being, you know, popped out of place as often. And then of course the thing that has been the most helpful to me, especially during this recovery process, has been adjustments, manual adjustments. So the only one I'm able to do right now is the adductor movement, which I usually do 2 Pilates blocks between my knees and then press in for like laying down, knees bent. But for my legs are long as fuck, so I actually have to keep my legs bent out instead of like that many like they usually do. I have to have my legs out like this for the bend. And I can tell because I can feel the lower abdominal muscles activating at that point, and then I get a click / pop into place seamlessly at that point. But yeah, it's usually knees bent that way and then push into the blocks, or alternatively, when I'm able to sit up in a wheelchair preoperatively, I can do 2 fists between my knees, squeeze into those for 5 seconds, do that 3 times. Preoperatively and eventually postoperatively, I can do the opposing end of that, which is the band, which I have to adjust. Instead of being right below my knees, it has to be like midway down my thigh for that balance. Most integral part for me in all that process, in all this process, is like actually just asking the question of what specific muscles are we activating, asking for a physical cue as to where that is on my body, and then like feeling that out intimately. Like I close my eyes and really hone in on like the feeling of what I'm activating versus just like by the books, what works for everybody sort of thing. But yeah, being able to do, I'm able to just like push my knees together, like even in this position I could do it now because I have a bolster under me. I've been able to get away with just doing that, and I can hear the click, and then I'm good. Thankfully, my buddy ended up coming by the other day for emergency shit drinks because of the constipation issue. I had to resort to magnesium citrate, whatever it is, and they ended up stocking me up on those. Oh God, a literal lifesaver, because I otherwise would have had to go to the ER. But them coming by, they ended up doing that for me, just put their fists between my knees while I was laying down, because I had something else like a little bit higher up that was being immensely pulled, like just tailbone region was getting pulled with that usual hip subluxation, and we were just like I was just mid talking at them, and then all of a sudden it was just like everything stopped, and so they did that. I adjusted, I stretched out one leg, and then instant relief. It's like, oh my God, thank God. Those adjustments make all the difference in the world. So recovery is going for what it is and what my position is, smoothly, steadily. I of course I have a few questions for the follow-up appointment, which is the 2-week follow-up is on Monday, so in like 2-3 days I'll be getting my sutures out then. Incision site is healing very, very well. I am very blessed to have surgical scars heal up amazingly. So this was no different, thankfully, even with all the mayhem of tossing and turning, log roll style, every hour on the hour or more. So, or would it be or less? More frequently, there we go. Thing is, the initial part of all this, the first 5 days home, I would say, were pretty fucking rough. I really underestimated the whole spinal part of spinal surgery. And alternatively, I kind of underestimated what my experience has been up to this point for the last couple of days in shifting over for now. Everything's nonlinear, so just speaking for now. But to be in a position to where I feel that I may be able to take out the trash, because it's a lighter trash bag. It's not like heavy stuff in there. It's mostly just like paper, just like hospital paperwork stuff that I don't need. I almost forgot for a minute there, or I did forget for a minute that I've been clinically considered bedbound for the last 3 years. I've just been overly positive about that in order to cope. So I've already had a whole bunch of things integrated. So like using that cart for trash, that's just about always what I've done. And like I have a rolling stool in the bathroom for like when I go to like put on ointments or moisturize or something. Like I already had a system built for years now to have basic lines of access. And like that just became such an integrated part of my experience that I just forgot that it made it so that in a similar way to the lack of sensation, how there was just like that smaller distance in terms of like accessibility and function. I'll say accessibility, like I had already been bedbound, and so yeah, like I said, the first 5 or so days home after surgery was the worst. Like even that wasn't like that much further out, but now it's just, it's hardly different in the sense of ritual and routine. I do miss my stretch routine. I have that day and night, and to not be able to do that is annoying. I've been doing like what I call wing stretches, which is just like one arm out and then opposite side, and that's just to like loosen this up. Because I have noticed that, I did notice immediately that the what is that, the pectoral major muscle, that was always just full tension and forcing me like this, so that even with like conscious effort, it was just no amount of releases or exercises would actually sustain any progress to like hold my shoulders up. It was truly just like, it just pulled everything. Like it just forced everything. It did, no interventions could make any difference because it was such a physical rooted issue. And since getting out from surgery, like there's like tiny remnants of that, but only the slightest hint, and even then, like this very much is like stretchable to open up. So I have no doubts that like once I'm okayed for PT again at around the 6-week mark, that this is just gonna soar. Like we took care of the core issue, and so I'm always going to be built different and need maintenance, but I can at least get somewhere with maintenance, which is huge, which is everything I need, everything I needed. And so progress is good. Got a bunch of stressors going on outside of all of this, but ultimately my only priority right now is just body. Being body, Body is body. Everything else comes after. And I'm ready. So, don't know if anyone actually listened to all of this, but did this for me really anyway. I love me.